Welcome back. We're looking at President Obama's foreign policy and the challenges facing the U.S. Joining from Washington, D.C. is leading diplomat, Ambassador Nicholas Burns, former Under-Secretary of State. Now, before the break, we were looking at Iran. We have a question from Iran on the phone, and Saeed's on the line with us. Saeed, what would you like to ask?
Hi, Riz, and hello, Mr. Burns.
Good evening.
The point I wanted to say that this latest movement in Iran was delayed basically due to dogmatic policies of America. We were ready to make this democratic move much earlier, but since we were threatened from outside, we could not make this move. Would Mr. Burns agree with this, that the policies of the America during past 10 years at least was wrong towards Iran?
Well, thank you very much for your question. I don't agree with your point of view, and I'll tell you why. I think for 3 years now, since June of 2006, the United States has been working with the Europeans, with Russia, with China, with the Arab countries, to try to reach out to Iran and convince Iran to negotiate on the nuclear issue. It's been the Iranian government of Mahmoud Ahmadinejad that has turned down those negotiations. And look, I think you're referring to the past too. The United States and Iran have had a famously difficult history. Both of us need to take some responsibility for that, not just for the United States. And I would say over the last 4 or 5 years, as I said before, there's been a willingness of the United States to reach out, but we've not seen that kind of willingness on the part of the Iranian government. And I would also say, sir, that the actions of the Iranian government, not the people of Iran, but the government, have worried not just the United States, but the rest of the world. There's no country supporting Iran in its desire to have nuclear weapons. There's no country supporting Iran, very few, I should say, in interfering in the affairs of Lebanon, as Iran has done, through its support for Hezbollah, and also interfering in the affairs of Iraq through its support to some of the Shia militant groups there. And so I would just say that the Iranian government, I think, is primarily responsible for the problems. And now you have President Obama, who has made it crystal clear that he wishes to negotiate. He's been very respectful. He's called the government of Iran by its proper name, the Islamic Republic of Iran. He's tried to accentuate the need for engagement. We've seen no reciprocal positive actions by the Iranian government. So I really think that President Obama has put President Ahmadinejad on the defensive.
We had an email just to illustrate the range of views we had from our viewers from MN Beg in Edmonton, Canada. And he wrote in saying, or she wrote in it saying, as President Obama said, Iran has to unclench its fist and it will see a welcoming hand. Iran is a theocracy and doesn't allow dissent. In order to move forward, Iran has to change its attitude towards the West. I guess that follows what you've said, Ambassador. But we have Majid on the line from France with a question. Majid, what would you like to ask?
Hello, Mr. Byrne. I just want to, first of all, relay the desire of Iranian diaspora for change in Iran and a form of democracy coming to power. But I think certain positions that was expressed on this program and also is known by U.S., for example, the fact mentioning that there's no doubt that Iran is developing nuclear weapon without presenting clear evidence. If it exists, it doesn't increase the credibility against the government, and I think this is the old policy that should be really replaced, as John Kerry mentioned recently. Don't you agree?
Well, thank you very much for your question.
Okay.
I would just say this, don't rely on what I say, rely on what Mohammad al-Baradei says. He's the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency. If you read his reports, including his most recent one, Iran refuses to answer basic questions about its nuclear research program. It's refusing to allow the IAEA inspectors in to see some of these programs. And it's not just the United States that believes that Iran is seeking a nuclear weapons future. It's also countries, other members of the Security Council in countries like Russia and China that have been sanctioning Iran at the United Nations based on what it's doing. Now, I would also say this, I think one of the great ironies here is that there seems to be a gap between the Iranian people who are in the streets, many of whom voted for Mr. Mousavi and Mr. Karoubi and others, and their own government. I think the real drama here is not relations between Iran and the United States, it's between the people of Iran and their own government. And obviously, we'll have to wait and see how that story ends. But there are a lot of questions being raised around the world, and not just in Washington, D.C., about how those elections were organized and how the votes were counted. And there's a great deal of unhappiness in Iran about it, as you know very well.
Ambassador, just as we have only about 5 minutes left, let me get an email to you from Adel Hamoud in Surrey in Canada. Moving on to the subject of Israel. He says, following Benjamin Netanyahu's speech, he says, the Prime Minister's speech was a ploy to buy time to continue with Israel's destructive policies. If Obama is serious about his Middle East vision, then he just found out that in Israel it's business as usual. Now, it's been argued that Prime Minister Netanyahu has always behaved in this sort of position. Do you feel he can be trusted as an honest broker for peace?
Well, I think certainly, listen, Israel is a partner and very serious ally of the United States, and so obviously I think you can expect that the United States government will work closely with the Israeli government and with Prime Minister Netanyahu. Having said that, I think, you know, one of the most interesting developments in recent months looking at the Obama administration has been the changes that they've brought. They have a very serious and accomplished negotiator in George Mitchell. He's a very fine man. His appointment signals that President Obama is dedicated to peace between Israel and the Palestinians. Second is the position of President Obama and Secretary Hillary Clinton on the issue of settlements. They've been very forthright. They've been a much stronger critic of the settlement policy than any previous U.S. government, going back to the first President Bush, Bush 41, and Secretary Jim Baker. They have made a point of saying they don't think that the settlement construction should continue. And so I think that the United States has been an honest broker. We obviously need to see the creation of a Palestinian state, but we obviously also need to see Arab countries and Palestinians themselves accept Israel and renounce terrorism. So there are going to be obligations on both sides. We have to see obligations on both sides and actions on both sides if there's going to be progress in these negotiations in the future.
Well, Ambassador, you recently in an interview said that President Obama's push on Israel stopping settlements was a, quote, down payment that the Obama administration is making with the Arab world that might help America regain its credibility in the region. Now, how is that credibility going to hold up if Benjamin Netanyahu's real conditions on settlements don't change, that is, stopping the creeping or natural growth, as he calls it?
Well, we'll have to see what the Israeli government decides to do, not just what it says in the future. But I do think that obviously there is profound unhappiness in the West Bank and in Gaza among Palestinians everywhere about the fact that it's been 61 years since the founding of the State of Israel and still no state for the Palestinians. And so personally, as a private citizen, as a college professor, I support an independent Palestinian state, and one should want to see those negotiations occur as quickly as possible. I would just suggest that in President Obama and Secretary Hillary Clinton, you have two people who are now very seriously moving towards peace discussions. They're putting the type of pressure on the Israeli government you've not seen in the past, but there are going to be obligations on the Palestinians and Arab side too, and to be fair to the Israelis. So I think this is a new wind blowing from Washington, D.C., and I hope that Arabs and Palestinians would appreciate the fact that President Obama is talking in a very different way, and I think he's right to do so, and I hope it does allow the United States to be a more credible intermediary for peace in the region.
Well, I was thinking from Benjamin Netanyahu's side as a sort of trustworthy broker, Ambassador, with a minute to go, when he says no right of return for refugees and no change in the status of Jerusalem, is there going to be any movement, you feel?
Well, I think there has to be movement. It's been far too long. The Palestinian people need to have hope for a state of their own and a homeland. And I think you'll see the United States keep working very hard on trying to set up negotiations. That's the right thing to do for our country. We need help. The United States is going to need help from the Arab world, and as well as from the Israeli government and the Israeli people. But I do think that Prime Minister Netanyahu is a serious man with a capacity to change. We'll just have to see what his actions are, not just the words from the speech yesterday.
All right. Well, Ambassador, I thank you very much for being on the show. It's great to talk with you. It's been a long time. I hope we get a chance to chat again soon.
Pleasure, Rez. Good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you. On the next show, we look at the rise of right-wing politics in Europe and how it might be reflecting a change in the way many countries there regard issues such as immigration. Don't forget, you can follow me and the show on Twitter. I promise I'll be sending some tweets out soon. That's all from me and the team in DC and London. We'll see you next time.